Welcome back to Turner Classic Movies. I'm your host, Eddie Muller, and for tonight's special program of Pre-Code Classics, I am joined by the great Bruce Goldstein, the man who has done so much to preserve and exhibit these films. And Bruce, we are bringing down the curtain tonight with a film that I sense is a particular favorite of yours. Tell us about 2 Seconds.
It's a particular favorite, and it's probably the least known of these four movies. It was off the radar for decades, probably because it couldn't be reissued after the code was enforced in 1934. This is probably the most sordid movie of the entire pre-code era, which may mean ever as well. I can only think of two other movies in the pre-code era that are as sordid. Safe in Hell with Dorothy McHale.
Yes.
And the other is The Story of Temple Blake, which is, of course, one of the films that helped bring on the production code enforcement.
I also think that this film is interesting because, a lot of people have trouble trying to define the film noir era. And then when you see a film like this, and, I call it proto-noir, because it's not part of a movement. It's just a standalone thing. But this is very much a film noir.
It has a lot of noir elements, including an expressionistic ending, which is unusual in Hollywood in 1932. And you could see, in fact, the ending of the courtroom scene, I think, was influenced by Fritz Lang's M.
Give people a little idea about what they're going to experience with this film without giving away any plot points.
Well, I think you'll know right away from the first minute what the title means. So maybe we don't have to say what the plot is because it's all there. I do want to mention that in the beginning, it starts in the death chamber, okay? Which just shows how upbeat this movie is. It opens in the death chamber. And the warden, played by the great Burton Churchill, warns the reporters, don't try any of that hidden camera stuff, harking back to the scene in Blessed Event.
I don't want any of you newspapermen trying a hidden camera stunt on me. This isn't a public exhibition.
The New York Times said this film had no comedy relief. I do not agree. There's a lot of great lines, great dialogue, hilarious. And what movie... if a movie has Guy Kibbe in it, you can't say it doesn't have comedy relief. He's not his usual boob in this, by the way. He plays the bookie.
Hi, John.
What do you want?
Ain't you seen the papers?
What about the papers?
The horses.
The horses?
This is another movie based on a Broadway play that had just been on Broadway like a few months before. They sold the rights, they wrote the script, they shot it, and it was in theaters a few months later. That's how fast they worked in those days.
Well, it shows you how the movies just devoured writing at this point because movies had just started to talk. So they were looking for newspapermen, playwrights, novelists, all these people who could write films fast. And this is a tremendous film. And I just think that people who have not seen this before are going to be pretty stunned by the time it's over.
This is one of those movies that wouldn't have had a chance of reissue after the code. A lot of Robinson movies were reissued, even Little Caesar, with some cuts after the code. But this is one of those, what they used to call Class 1, and it's going to be buried for the next 70 years.
This is really a special treat. Here is Mervyn LeRoy directing the great Edward G. Robinson in 2 Seconds.